All right, thank you for joining us. Boy, wild night in Cleveland. Not a lot of focus on policy tonight, rather a bunch of red meat speeches where the speakers repeatedly attack the administration and the direction of our country, saying this election is their best chance to change course. In fact, as Rudy Giuliani put it, there is no next election. This is it. Then we had a very interesting pivot from Donald Trump himself. Take a look at his grand entrance earlier tonight. It is more than a bit unusual for the presumptive nominee to show up on the first night of the convention, but that's exactly what Donald Trump did. He's known certainly for breaking tradition, and with this, he came out to introduce his wife, Melania, who strived to humanize her husband, Donald Trump. And watch the defining moment, I think, from Melania's speech. This is the message she wanted to drive home.
Donald intends to represent all the people, not just some of the people. That includes Christians and Jews and Muslims. It includes Hispanics and African Americans and Asians and the poor and the middle class.
But it is maybe best remembered this first night, rather, for this. Take a look.
Roll call vote! Roll call vote! Roll call vote! Roll call vote! Roll call vote!
Yeah, you had a lot of shouting on the floor, a lot of disagreement. The anti-Trump movement still a long way from finish, determined to, if not take the nomination away from Donald Trump, rather at least to cause a lot of noise on the floor and perhaps some headaches for Trump. And we got some very interesting perspective from Republican leaders with our own contributor, Charlie LaDuff. Take a look.
And so we return to where we began, Cleveland, Ohio, 1 year ago, and the Cuyahoga County Republican chairman's take on Trump. I think he spoke for the whole establishment when he said, one word, Trump. He hated Trump then. Now he finds himself hosting the Donald's coronation. Do you have to pick up some of the pieces that the guy's not filling in? Like, hey, black people, we're not a racist party. Do you feel like you now got to do that?
Well, we've been doing that.
You have to do that.
We had to do that because of Romney, okay? So we've been
Romney.
doing that since 2013. Now, Donald Trump doesn't make it any harder or worse.
The Republican establishment picked Cleveland to pull some working-class white voters because no Republican has ever won the White House without Ohio. Problem is, they like Trump. Your Republican Party, as you know it, is it dead? For instance, the platform now is build a wall, America first in trade deals, basically close it down, and special scrutiny for Muslims. Your Republican Party?
We're going to continue welcoming everybody in, and even if somebody disagrees with us on something, they're still welcome in the Republican Party. Even if what they disagree with us on is they're not yet ready to vote for Donald Trump.
The latest Wall Street Journal poll
Yeah.
shows a black support for Donald Trump in Ohio at 0. Can you win with 0?
Well, see, that's the starting point Mitt Romney gave us. Mitt Romney was at 0, and Mitt Romney his campaign was run miserably in Ohio. I don't know how somebody so smart in business could be so bad at running a campaign.
You sound like Trump.
Well, that's where we are right now. And so that's our starting point. And guess what? Romney came pretty darn close. What we're going to be doing with Donald Trump, it's all of the above. So we're going to be working on building back from 0 with minorities.
Good luck, Mr. County Chairman Republican Rob, because not only are working class whites coming to Cleveland, so are the blacks and the Latinos, and like the Republican establishment, they're not happy. Trump.
Our next president.
Okay, we move to the Fox Works Center now with Charlie LaDuff, who is joining us on the road with us, helping us launch our new nightly show. Thank you for
Congratulations, man. You're going to die young.
Let's hope not. Were you surprised by what Frost told you?
Yeah, I was surprised that he was honest. That's what I was surprised at, because, this whole thing is made for TV, as sound bites. The guy spoke for real. Parties changed. We're having trouble with minorities. We're having trouble with the working class. we got to rebuild it. I was really shocked he went there.
And the party has had a bit of a war with itself for some length of time, so we mix serious news with some parody and satire. You've seen our series of mockumentaries. We're going to kick it off once again tonight with part 2, The Republican War 2016.
It's time now for Trail Tales.
General Rubio surrendered on March 15th in the Battle of Florida. The remnants of his battered army lay scattered in the murky sawgrass of Weston.
A lawyer with his briefcase can steal more than 100 men with guns. I don't know how that's relevant to this, but I thought it was a really good quote.
General Trump's conquest of the South was complete and is celebrated with a mocking blow to his rival's wife.
Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
The resistance regrouped in their northern stronghold of Wisconsin and blasted the Trumpians as they crossed the border.
Establishment, preachers, and talk show hosts unite. For today and forever, our battle cry is never Trump! Never Trump! Never Trump!
Never Trump!
Trump's loss in Wisconsin gave the resistance false hope. They charged into Gettysburg and never came home.
General Trump destroyed the rival forces from Pennsylvania to New York. It was the turning point of the war. But the shell-shocked general from Texas refused to surrender.
Only one campaign has repeatedly beaten Donald Trump, and only one campaign can and will beat Donald Trump.
General Cruz was an odd choice to lead the resistance. He was an outcast in his own chamber. In earlier days, his fellow senators might have beaten him with a cane.
But to the Never Trump movement, he was their last hope. The war shifted west to a final battle on the cornfields of Indiana.
Now that I've endorsed Cruz, what else can go wrong? It's time for the right to rise. Colonel John Ellis Bush, P.S., please clap.
Yeah, so that was the Republican War of 2016 Part 2. You can catch Part 1 if you missed it on our YouTube channel. That's Craig Patrick's Money, Power, and Politics on YouTube. And what is it, Charlie? You click?
Click, subscribe, and it'll come to you. I subscribe.
There you go, Charlie. Thank you so much. Then we mix in humor, of course, serious investigations as well. And this, Charlie, is where we're going to bring you in the next segment for something that may make your blood boil. Coming up, with a running theme of government waste in the conventions, we're investigating more spending you may not believe. Our contributor Charlie LaDuff dug into questionable contracts worth $100 million federal tax dollars.
This day in history.
July 18, 2013. Detroit becomes the largest American city to ever file for bankruptcy. It raised concerns about public spending that are driving themes in politics now at every level of government. And those concerns about debt and government mismanagement help fuel the Trump movement. And that's on full display this week in Cleveland. For years, our contributor Charlie LaDuff has investigated the problems in Detroit that have burned taxpayers across the nation.
What happened to Detroit? Long story short, factories moved away, then the middle class, the poor stayed, the police got cut, and things got bad.
This is a very, very difficult day for me, as I'm sure it is for a lot of our citizens here in the city of Detroit.
And our contributor, Charlie LaDuff, has been investigating the bankruptcy in Detroit for months now, if not years. And Charlie, you have found a lot of issues here that relate directly to the folks at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, look, Detroit's coming out of bankruptcy. There's a lot of federal money flowing in. That's people of Florida's money. That's people of California's money. That's my money. And the feds are right up in there. Looks like we're doing it again.
And to clarify, that's because contractors doing the demolitions with our money agreed to one price and then said, well, wait a minute, we want more money. And city leaders in Detroit said, well, okay. And with
money, power, politics. That's why everybody's mad at the system. Those same preferred contractors got together yet again last July and demanded millions of dollars more for demolitions they had already agreed to perform for a set and lower price. And the city agreed to the new price, driving up the demolition price by another, now wait for it, 40%. So we went to see Dave Minardo and Jim Wright, two high-paid Duggan pals whom he put in charge of this fiasco. Hi.
Hi.
Jim here?
No, he's not.
Dave?
No.
Can you answer these?
No, she can answer them.
I know. Where are they? We went to see the contractor who wrote the email demanding more money. It was weird. Here for Eric Davos. Is he here, please?
He sure is. He's on the phone. He's coming out shortly.
Terrific,
Do you want to
thank
have
you.
a seat there?
Appreciate it, thank you.
Can you come back tomorrow?
What happened to Eric?
He's on the phone and he's leaving. So he's not available.
He's not available. Your secretary just said you're in the office and you're on the phone. She's mistaken. What's weirder is that a month after the contractor sent the email demanding more money, an independent consultant hired by the city came up with the very same price increase that the contractors were demanding, to the very penny. The consultant promised us an interview, but he must have forgotten that we were coming by.
And Charlie, where do we go from here?
Look, you know, this thing, it's made for TV, but what do? Where do we go? We go to the ballot box, and you cast a vote, right? You get involved in the process. If you don't, you got nothing to say, and they're just going to take out of your pocket. You get involved. You make yourself smart.
Charlie, what do you make of the federal investigation? Where do you think this will lead when we have 100 million federal tax dollars up for grabs?
You're asking me where I think it's going? I think it's going to a grand jury. From there, I don't know. It's going to a grand jury. Like, remember, the good people of Florida and the United States bailed out Detroit. They bailed out General Motors. They bailed out Chrysler. And to think, 3 years later, we're right back to where we were. Outrageous.
Charlie, we're going to bring you in throughout the week for more investigations. I want to thank you for your time. I also want to show you what impact the speeches that you saw tonight could have on the polls later this week and later this year, based on what we've seen in the past.
Speaking slots at these conventions are golden tickets in politics. They've launched scores of rising stars, from a 32-year-old governor
America waits. What is America waiting for?
To a self-described skinny kid with a funny name.
There is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America.
A home run speech can also revive campaigns and change the game. President Bush 41 came from behind by giving what's considered one of the best acceptance speeches ever written. But it cost him 4 years later because he could not keep his core promise.
Read my lips.
That's one way these speeches can backfire. If you overpromise, it will take you down. The keynote and other setup speakers generally play the role of attack dog for the nominee. Their speeches are often filled with barbs and quips remembered years later. Former Texas Governor Ann Richards hit Bush 41 the same way Democrats attacked Mitt Romney in 2012.
He was born with a silver foot in his mouth.
Historically, Democrats tend to accuse Republicans of being snotty. Republicans tend to accuse Democrats of being weak.
Their themes seem to be that America's future belongs to the wishers, the wasters, the wanters, the whiners, and the weak.
But sharp speeches run the risk of turning off swing voters. Critics pan Pat Buchanan's culture war speech in 1992.
Liberals and radicals came dressed up as moderates and centrists in the greatest single exhibition of cross-dressing in American political history.
They also pan Michael Dukakis for downplaying his vision and ideas.
This election is not about ideology. It's about competence.
Walter Mondale tanked when he made a promise you'd never expect in one of the most awkward lines you'll ever hear.
Mr. Reagan will raise taxes, and so will I. He won't tell you. I just did.
Coming up, we're fact-checking the speeches and keying into the key moments of the night, and Evan Axelbank is keeping score. Okay, well, we've been following all the action in the arena and along the streets. Evan Axelbank has been in Tampa keying into the speeches. So, Evan, what strikes you the most?
Well, hey there, sir. How are you? What I thought was interesting was here is a candidate in Donald Trump who has risen to the top of the Republican Party by casting himself as a know-it-all businessman. He speaks frequently on the campaign trail of the great deals he has supposedly made, of the money he has supposedly earned, and of the instincts he says he has. And he may indeed have all those things. But immediately, the RNC became an effort to redefine him. Two of the first speakers, Scott Baio from Charles in Charge and Willie Robertson from Duck Dynasty, argued that Donald Trump is just a regular guy.
If you're an average American who feels like you've been forgotten, neglected by faraway leaders, that the deck is stacked against you and you just can't win, Donald Trump will have your back. Now, he may not always tell you what you want to hear. You may not always agree.
Is Donald Trump a messiah? No. He's just a man who wants to give back to his country, America. The country that has given him everything. A man doing this from the goodness of his heart and genuinely wants to help.
And so you see there kind of a sharp change in tone for a candidate who jokes on the campaign trail that America will win so much under his leadership that Americans will tell him we're tired of winning. Interesting change for Money, Power, and Politics. I'm Evan Axelbank.
Coming up, we'll take you back live to the arena in Cleveland with predictions on how tonight's action could swing the polls and what to expect tomorrow. Okay, time to score of the night. Best performance of the night, clearly Melania Trump. She stayed on message, focused on her husband Donald Trump, and personified him, softened his image. Big win for Donald Trump with that speech. Biggest problem for Donald Trump, clearly he sought unity today, did not get it. Particularly the beginning of the convention broke down in discord and shouting. Prediction: the Trump critics will not prevail, at least not in depriving Donald Trump of the nomination. That will go as planned, but they certainly could succeed with more shouting, more disruptions. Look for the possibility, at least, of a walkout after Ted Cruz speaks on Wednesday night, leaving potentially hundreds of seats empty, something Donald Trump would not want to see on Thursday. And the way he gets there is working behind the scenes, certainly party leaders as well, to make sure that does not happen. So we will continue to follow all of the action here on Money, Power, Politics again tomorrow night at 11:30, and of course throughout the day and night on Fox 13 and on social media as well. Thank you so much for joining us.